teaching about how to do active counseling. And the first thing we want to consider in doing active counseling is a concept called balance of attention. And I will be giving you all these handouts, so you don't have to write it all down, unless it just helps you integrate it. So the idea of balance of attention is that discharge or emotional release isn't something you can make happen, but you can set up a situation that allows it to happen. And the situation that allows it to happen is when the client has a balance of awareness between the positive nature of the present moment, the feeling of, okay, I'm safe now, I'm with a counselor, we're doing healing work, things are good, I'm getting nurtured. They're aware of that beneficence in the present moment, and they're also aware of their pain in the past. So if you were completely have all your attention in the present moment and it's this nice moment, then why would you discharge? Right? You're feeling fine. If you have all your attention in your pain and the misery, and it feels like you're in a situation where you're unsafe and bad things are happening to you, you're not going to discharge either because it doesn't feel safe, right? So you have to have an awareness of both. It's like a perspective. And so most of us, when we come into a session, we have more of our balance on the positive side. Our attention is out. We've just been driving around. Maybe the day is sort of a normal day, but it's not too awful. And then we need to focus a little more on our distress in order to get a balance and be able to discharge. So we direct attention that way. And we start talking about what's happened to us in the past and telling the stories and examining, going into the distress. We put our attention toward the distress. And that generally works really well with latent patterns. When you're working on something that is not re-stimulated all the time. You want to work on an addiction. You want to work on some particular thing that you want to move forward on in your life, like abundance, getting more money, some relationship issue. You want to work on a specific thing. You start scanning all the things we've been learning. You're putting attention toward the distress, right? So that you can bring it up and out. Sometimes you come into a session and the distress is already right there. You ever had this experience? You're already crying. It's already like, what? You know, right on the surface. So you don't need a lot of attention toward the distress then. And you might need some attention toward helping the person feel safe, reassuring them that it's okay that they're having feelings, letting them know you're present with them and their feelings are okay with you, right? All of those kind of messages, that's attention away from the distress. Helping them understand that it's a good moment and that they're safe in that moment. And then that can help the discharge keep flowing. So sometimes people are very shut down, right? They come in and their attention is really inward and it's absorbed with their distress, and they're not able to even talk very well. Have you ever been with someone like that? We call it being sunk. You're sunk in the distress.
Oh, yeah.
And you feel, another word is depressed. And you feel like everything's bad and you're a bad person, and you know, you're just running these stories and that's your entire reality. And so in that kind of a situation, you have to really work to put the attention away from the distress and help them get their attention out. Sometimes you even need to do things like Just say, hi. You know, hi, here I am. Get them to notice that you're there with them. Sometimes that's hard for people, to just notice that someone's there with them. You might need to do appreciations or have them do self-appreciation. You know, you might have to kind of pull them out of the distress a little bit in order to get enough attention going so that they can discharge. Because it takes a balance in order to discharge. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So one example might be if somebody's working on a pattern where they feel that nobody likes them, and then for some reason they feel like that's coming up and they start projecting it onto you and they feel like you don't like them as a counselor, they're not going to discharge about it because it seems like their distress is present time reality. It seems like it's going on now. So what do you do in that kind of situation? How would you balance it?
Something to bring back, like, does this remind you of something from the past?
You could do that,
And
but probably you have to do something before that because they won't want to talk to you if they think you don't like them.
Oh.
The presencing thing would probably be good for that because they're noticing what's around and that this is not that.
Yeah, and you might just need to tell them that that's not true, that actually you do like them, and that you accept them. Like the opposite of their pattern is what they need to hear from you.
Reassurance.
Right, so in that situation, they would need reassurance and that you really want to hear. They might feel, for example, somebody might feel really ashamed of their feelings and their distress. And like, I can't tell anybody this, nobody wants to hear this. What would be the opposite of that? What would you say?
Tell me about it.
I'm happy to listen to you right now.
Yeah,
I'm happy to hear what you have to say.
yeah, I'm really interested. I really want to hear about it. I appreciate that you're trusting me. Right?
Yeah.
It's like helping the client see around their feelings to know that they aren't the only reality, that they're just temporary patterns, and that really important to make a distinction between this moment and the moments before. Because when someone's triggered and re-stimulated, their belief is that the same thing is happening as always happened before. And it just seems like the same experience. Here it is again. Somebody's rejecting me. Somebody's whatever. I'm unworthy and it's obvious and everyone's telling me. And it's just the same old thing. So it seems to them like that's reality. So they got to have a little crack around that. And the person that's counseling them is kind of the one that needs to provide that. And with a latent pattern, you don't have to work as hard because just your presence there and your paraphrasing and your attention and your warmth is going to be enough of an antidote